PTS Phase 2 patch notes. Now, for those that don't know, you have to be on PC to play the PTS. If you haven't installed it yet, it is a total of 94 gigs. Great. If you have it installed, it's a 12.62 gig update. It will start at 1 PM Central Eastern European time, at 7 AM for the Americans and like 4 AM for the Australians, I believe. Starts on 19th of January, that's tomorrow, Friday, and it ends the 22nd, which is Monday, midday. Up first, we have a new brand set, Palisade Steelworks. One piece gives 10% armor on kill. This is going to be a blue core build, we know it. Two piece is plus 60% health. Shock, horror, gasp. They cap our health and then go, oh yeah, have all these new shiny pieces that give even more health. What was the point in capping our health then? Three piece is going to give +1 skill tier, which I feel is like already done. We're kind of over it. Brazos is a 2 piece. I mean, at least keep with your theme of scaling things up per friggin' brand. At least give us 2 skill tiers here. Come on. I feel like this should just be an armor core, to be perfectly honest. However, we get a new named chest, Combustor, which gives perfectly explosive delivery. Whenever you throw a skill, 1.2 seconds after landing, it creates an explosion to enemies within 5 meters. Afterwards, explosion will occur every 5 seconds. I very rarely see this talent normally get used. I'm pretty sure adding a perfect in front of it isn't really going to change a damn thing. The damage scales with skill tiers, so this could also be a skill tier set. Be a bit weird if they put this on a blue core set. You never know. Applies to remote pulse, all turrets, all hives, explosive sticky, cluster seeker, Mender Seeker Mine, as well as Decoy and all traps. Could be interesting. We also get a name pack called Proxy for perfectly tamper-proof. Enemies that walk within 3 meters of your hive, turret, remote pulse, or decoy are shocked. The arm time is 2 seconds and the cooldown per skill is 8 seconds. I have seen this get used, but it's normally like in controlled speedrunning scenarios, Iron Horse being the main one. So yeah, I don't really see this set being of use anyway, and plus going 10% armor on kill and 60% health just to get 1 skill tier is a lot. At least with Brazos, skill haste is going to have a purpose in basically every person's build. It's not going to be a huge bonus, but it's just going to take that little bit off on the cooldown of your skills. Going through all of this just to get to 1 skill tier, which is not the best thing on this, yeah, I don't see being of benefit. And then adding 10% armor on kill is the first stat, which would say this should be a red core piece. And then health, we're going to go for blue core. And then here we're going to go for skill tier. So how this is going to play out, I have absolutely no idea. New gear set. Now this does sound interesting. However, I feel like this is also going to fall into the same trap as the Ortiz set, as in what's the bloody point? 2 pieces equipped give plus 70 health. I'm assuming that's going to be 70%. But as to why it's health and not armor, considering that's going to be your greater defensive value, I have no idea. For 3 piece, we get 15% armor. 4 piece unlocks the talent Stoic. We get 3% damage resistant for every enemy that is targeting you. The bonus is multiplied by 1.x, where x is the number of agents in your group. So if you're solo, you get a 1.1 multiplier on this 3% damage reduction per enemy. If you're in a group of 4-man, you get 1.4 multiplier of 3%, just to show what 1 point. So we're going to go 0.03 times 1.4. We're going to go up to like 4.2%. Great. And then obviously if you're in a raid, you can get like 5.4%. Potentially, if I'm reading this right. For the chest talent, we get Deceit. Enemies targeting your decoy also count towards the Stoic damage. This could be worthwhile, although why you would pick this over something like Vanguard in the first place, I'm not sure, or even just Tardigrade would be of more benefit in this regard. Backpack talent increases the Stoic damage resistance bonus from 3 to 4%. Now, this is all well and good, but like, let's just say we have, like, I don't know, 6 enemies targeting you. So we have 3 times 6. This is a total of 18%, right? So we're going to get 0.18 times, and then 3. Oh, it's 1.4. Right? That's a 25% damage resistance. That's 6 enemies targeting you or your decoy in a 4-man group. 25% damage resistance, which I don't really see 6 enemies targeting you at one time to be a regular occurrence, realistically, because, yeah, you never know. That being said, we'll get to the rest later on. That being said, though, does 25% damage resistant negate just Foundry Bulwark with a Richter and Kaiser, the named Forge piece, and Catharsis. Add in Bulwark and the Artificer Hive. This is an immense amount of regen. Immense. You get like an extra 100% health to your shield from Forge as well as Foundry. And well, this is like a very niche build. Catharsis proccing can heal your shield a little bit, as well as obviously the Artificer Hive coming in and healing your shield. Does that 25% damage mitigation negate everything that we can do with Foundry? And Foundry in the PTS also had a buff. It went up from like 15% to 25%. And people actually found that using something along the lines of this near enough made you immortal. As long as they were hitting the shield, you could not die. I would pick this over Aegis any day. I'll take that immense amount of regen over 25% damage resistance. Easily. Easily. Again, though, there could be potential ways to get that amount of damage mitigation higher. New exotic gloves. Iron Grip. 50% recoil penalty when hip firing. I don't know who hip fires. I don't see who this is for. And 50% recoil penalty when blind firing from cover. This could be of use. It depends on the roles. I see this mostly coming with things like blue cores and health and armor regen or hazard protection, considering that seems to be the theme that we're going for at the moment. All the blues and health and etc, etc. Yeah, so I imagine this is going to come with blues, but this could be of pretty good use, especially with something like Ouroboros, because that thing does so much damage anyway. Losing a red core isn't going to hurt you. It's got like 41% critical hit chance at base, so losing a crit roll isn't going to hurt you. And just being able to, I mean, depending on how this is calculated, the negative 50% recoil penalty is calculated. This could basically just mean run into a room, take cover, and just freaking hose pipe your way through a room perfectly fine. So this could be interesting, but I don't really see it being of any benefit whatsoever. Right, now on to what is, I'm thinking, is probably going to break the game, and it's going to depend entirely on what rifle this is based on. It's an exotic rifle, and depending on what it's based on, something like if this was an M1A, this would be busted. There'd be no point playing literally any other weapon. This would be New King. If it's an M1A, whether it be CQB, Classic, or SOCOM, it doesn't matter. If it's something along the lines of the RCS, this could be incredibly powerful. If it's something along the lines of the lightweight M4, this could be incredibly powerful. Annoyingly, it does say while scoped, so we're going to have to see how much scoping this actually is, but a 75% damage increase, and I'm assuming this is going to be calculated the exact same way in which Lady Death is calculated, which also gives us 75% weapon damage. It's a fucking amp. Yeah, this could be incredibly, incredibly powerful. Now, the part that makes me nervous, it does come with 15% weapon accuracy and with 15% weapon stability, so I'm kind of expecting it to be one of those rifles where you fire 2 shots and you're shooting pigeons. But this could potentially be an absolute deal changer for rifles. And it really annoys me that they've put this in, but the gear set is another tank set, which I'm going to upset people here. Outside of raids, tanks are useless. So we've got a gear set that applies to like maybe 2% of the populace, 1% of the time. And then we've got a new exotic rifle, which we've been screaming out for, and we're just going to get shafted. Brilliant. We also now get to a previous point, which is going to be the aggro thing with regards to Aegis. which is obviously Mosquito, an exotic pistol. Now this again is going to depend on what this pistol is based off. Annoyingly, they don't actually tell us. There used to be a time where they would tell us, new exotic rifle coming, exotic 1886 or whatever, blah 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 blah. Now they just don't tell us because it's like they know they're just going to upset people. So hitting an enemy applies a stack. This is the part where I get confused. Stacks are shared between players. I don't know whether this means if you have two people with the Mosquito and we're both shooting the same target, I get a stack, you get a stack, I get a stack, you get a stack. Or whether it's one person with Mosquito and I'm hitting a target and it goes player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, blah 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 blah. I don't understand this. This goes back to the whole wording thing that the devs have. I'm assuming it's lost in translation or something, but this is just very worded very poorly. At 10 stacks, the enemy will focus target the last player to apply the stack, which leads me to believe it was the former, being two players with the gun, 1 stack, 2 stack, 1 stack, 2 stack, 1 stack, 2 stack, etc, etc. Stacks deplete every 5 seconds, and activating this effect will remove all stacks from other enemies. So this could potentially be a decent way for us to generate aggro. It forces the enemy to target the player, assumingly, with this gun. But it's one enemy at a time. I'd rather just use decoy for fuck's sake. The mods are the 15% reload speed and 15% accuracy. We are now also going to go into what is looking like the big boys. And I say the big boys because no matter how this is calculated as to whether this is, again, we're going to go on their naming convention here, whether it's weapon damage, total weapon damage, or an amplifier, looking at you, sadist, ignited, eyeless. Even if this is just all weapon damage, this is like the largest damage bonus on a weapon, period. Now, annoyingly, it does say it's 40% weapon damage to enemies that are not targeting you, which means in solo, this is really, really bad. You're going to get nothing out of this in solo, which is like the only thing I really hate about this. For solo players, this talent is useless to you. These two named items, the M700 Carbon, and the M16A2 are useless to you if you're playing solo, which I feel is a very, very poor way to go. I feel like this is penalising solo players because depending on where we can put this, at the moment it looks like it's obviously just rifle and MMR, because marksman rifle is the Brutus, M700 Carbine. I don't feel like this is going to need it. This is going to be the new best in slot friggin' MMR anyway. And then for the rifle, obviously the M16A2. So we know it can go on both rifle and MMR. But if this can be put on like SMGs, ARs, this is your new best in slot DPS talent within group play. Easily. Easily. Like, this is busted. Like, this is actually so damaging, it's unreal. It works out to a 16% DPS increase across the board. Flatline's only 15. Strained is like 7. No, Strained is 9, sorry. Optimist is like 6 or 7. This is huge. Huge. Depending on where we can put this. And then just, I don't know, just the new meta is just basically be running around with decoy all the time. So you could use it in solo, but it's going to rely on your decoy. Yeah, this is going to be absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, that is going to do it for this part 1. We're going to be working into the next bit, don't you worry. But I like to keep the videos as short as possible. Have fun, good luck, don't die, it's bad for my health.